The stars above Luna Base shimmered like frozen sparks. It was a quiet morning, and the Earth children were excited. For many of them, this was their first trip to the moon. They wore white suits, carried small backpacks, and moved in neat lines. Across the viewing deck, their teacher, Miss Hannah, smiled as she watched them press their faces to the glass, pointing at the Earth shining like a blue marble in the sky. There were 12 children in total. Some were from Earth, some from Mars colonies, and 2 were born on a station near Jupiter. They had been chosen for a special education program, one that promoted unity and peace between colonies. It was meant to be a joyful experience. No one expected what happened next. At 10:04 lunar time, all systems on the observation deck blinked. The lights flickered, but not in the usual way. A strange humming sound echoed through the walls. Cameras showed a ripple in the air, like heat waves rising from desert sand. Then the deck went dark, when light returned only 30 seconds later. The children were gone. The footage was reviewed 100 times. Security teams searched every hallway, every tunnel, and every escape hatch. No trace of the children was found. There were no open airlocks, no broken doors, and no signs of a struggle. It was as if the children had vanished into thin air. Ms. Hannah was taken to medical, shaking and unable to speak. She kept repeating one phrase. They walked into the air. Commanders at Luna Base alerted Earth, Mars, and Titan. Emergency calls went out across the human colonies. Parents were contacted. Every spaceship leaving the moon was stopped and searched, but it was no use. The children were truly gone. A young technician named Leo found something strange during a sensor sweep. He wasn't high-ranked, just a quiet man who loved puzzles. While checking the observation deck's readings, he noticed a spike in Energy 1. Not used by human ships or machines. It was short, only lasting 0.2 seconds. But it left a trail. The energy matched something seen years ago during an early space mission. Back then, a scout ship had passed through a region near the edge of the known galaxy. It had picked up a strange wave, unmarked and never seen again. That signal was filed away and forgotten. Now it had returned, and this time it had taken children. Within hours, the United Earth Command met in emergency session. Generals, scientists, diplomats, and analysts sat around a long table in New Geneva. On the walls, screens showed the missing children's names and faces. Their ages ranged from 6 to 10. The room was silent for a long time. Then Commander Vale spoke. "We don't know who took them, but we know this: no human technology can do what happened on Luna. This was not one of us." Murmurs filled the room. Some believe it could be a secret human group using stolen alien tech. Others feared something worse. Admiral Thorne, an older man with deep scars on his face, stood up. "If aliens have taken our children, we need to respond, not with war but with warning. No species, no matter how old or advanced, has the right to touch our young." Back on the moon, technicians worked day and night. They followed the energy trail deeper into space, using every sensor, satellite, and telescope available. It led them beyond human borders, into a region called the Quiet Band, a zone filled with old, silent stars and strange ruins. The Quiet Band was a place most species avoided. It held no planets, no trade, no life. But now, it had something more. Someone that had taken children from Earth. The media exploded. Every news station ran the story. Parents cried on camera. Artists painted the children's faces and placed them on posters around the cities. The world came together like it had not done in years. Borders between nations blurred. Space agencies shared all their data. The people demanded action. A boy named Tommy, age 7, had sent a message to his parents just hours before the incident. In it, he said, "I saw a bird outside the glass, but it had no wings." That small sentence became a symbol. It was printed on shirts, written on walls, and whispered in gatherings across Earth. "I saw a bird outside the glass. Something was watching, and now it had taken them." On Mars, a scientist named Dr. Leon studied the energy spike. She was one of the few experts in alien signal patterns. She stared at the readings for hours, comparing them to everything on record. Then she found it, a match, Years ago, a small alien research station near the galactic edge had been shut down. After a scandal, the species involved quiet, secretive beings called the Varn were banned from human contact. They had been known for studying other life forms without consent. The energy signature matched Varn technology. Dr. Leon rushed her report to command. Now the question wasn't just who took the children. It was why. As the sun rose over Earth, the question echoed through every channel, every voice, every heart. Who takes children in peacetime? The message was clear. If this was the Varn, they had crossed a line. In space, a single human message was sent toward the quiet band. It held only two sentences: return the children or face. What comes next? For days had passed since the children disappeared from Luna Base. On Earth, the world was still watching. People lit candles at night. Schools left empty chairs in classrooms. News screens showed the same 12 faces again and again. Some called it the Moon 12, others called them the Star Children. But no matter the name, the question remained: where were they? Then, a new signal came. It arrived at Station 12, a listening post on the dark side of Mars. The station was small, run by only 7 people, and mostly used to track space traffic and monitor weather patterns on nearby moons. But that night, it picked up something strange. It was not a usual radio wave. It was something deeper, like a pulse sent through space itself. The machines didn't recognize it at first, but one officer, a man named Bren, noticed it. He didn't speak right away. He just stared at the blinking light, then slowly reached for the controls. He played the signal. It was only 4 words: the young ones live. There was no voice. The message was written in a code known only to deep space scientists and scholars of alien history. It matched a pattern used long ago by a small alien group 1 that had not contacted humans in years. The signal also included coordinates. They pointed to a location deep inside the quiet band. The area was far from all known trade routes and marked dangerous for travel. It was a cold, silent place with no stars close by and no planets known to support life. The coordinates pointed to empty space. The message was sent to Earth within minutes. In New Geneva, leaders gathered again. The room was dark except for the glowing screen showing the signal. Commander Vale stood at the center, silent. Behind her, Admiral Thorne crossed his arms, staring at the map. A soft voice broke the silence. It came from a woman named Mira, a diplomat trained in first contact situations. If they wanted to harm the children, they wouldn't send this message, she said. But they're not asking for peace either, said Commander Vale. They're not asking for anything at all. Dr. Leon, the scientist from Mars, was brought in by video call. She confirmed that the code matched the Varn species. The Varn were not part of the Galactic Council. Years ago, they had been caught performing experiments on a living creature without permission. Since then, they were watched but rarely heard from. They were always curious, Dr. Leon explained. They studied everything, but they didn't understand limits, or maybe they didn't care. They're not curious anymore, said Admiral Thorne. They're thieves now. That same day, a vote was held. Earth and her colonies would not send warships yet, but they would prepare. A diplomatic vessel named Silverlight would travel toward the coordinates. It would carry a team of negotiators, doctors, and 1 protection unit in case of danger. Captain Wren was chosen to lead the mission. She was not known for loud speeches or sharp words. She had earned respect through actions, not promises. People called her steady. Her crew trusted her, and she had once brought home a missing group of miners lost near a black hole. She was the best choice. Before leaving, she gave a short message to the public. We will find them. That is not hope. That is a fact. The people believed her. Silverlight launched from Earth orbit. As it rose into the sky, families watched from cities, fields, and domes. The ship was not large, but it was fast. Its engines burned with blue light as it entered deep space. On board were 25 people, each chosen with care. Captain Wren sat in her command chair, staring at the star map. The coordinates from the message were marked with a red circle. It was a long journey, and they would pass through several quiet zones. No one knew what waited for them. Back at the Galactic Council, the message had already caused a storm. The Council was an ancient group made up of dozens of alien species. Some were old enough to have seen stars die, others were newer but respected. Each had a seat, and each had a voice. When news of the missing human children reached them, the response was not quiet. They took what? One elder shouted, "This is madness." Another said, "The Varn were warned." A third added, "They were told to stay away from young species." A vote was held, and the council agreed. A warning would be sent to the Varn, even though they had not answered any message in years. The warning was simple: return the human children or face the loss of all protection. This was not a light statement. It meant the Varn would no longer be allowed in safe zones. They would lose trade, travel rights, and any help from other species. For some, that was a death sentence. The council then did something unusual. They sent a second message not to the Varn, but to Earth. It said, "If you choose justice, we will not stand in your way." It was a rare sign of respect. The council had seen humanity grow quickly. They had once been unsure of humans, unsure of their strength, their emotions, their energy. But now, they saw something else. They saw unity. They saw a people who stood together, even in pain. And many remembered a truth they had almost forgotten. When humans protect their young, they do not stop. Inside the Hall of Voices, the room was filled with light and sound. Dozens of species had gathered. Some floated, some stood tall, some moved in silence, but all were present. The Galactic Council had not been this full in many years. News of the human children's disappearance had shaken every world. The signal from the Varn had turned a mystery into a warning. A tall being made of crystal light stepped forward. Her name was Kalani of the Jelari, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Her voice rang clear. "The Varn have broken our law. They have touched the young of a protected species. This cannot be ignored." Others nodded, even those who did not always agree with humans stayed silent. They all remembered stories of Earth's early wars, of how humans fought not only for land, but for each other. They remember the fire that lived in human hearts. They remember the oath Earth gave when joining the Council: protect the innocent, never strike first, but never step back. Now, Earth's children were gone. Ambassador Lauren of the Zanari stepped forward. He was known as calm and logical, but today, his voice carried heat. This was not an attack on just Earth. It was an attack on all of us. If the Varn can take from humans, they can take from anyone. The room grew tense. No one had heard a message from the Varn in years. They had been silent, living deep in dark space, far from other life. Some believed they were gone. Others believed they were hiding. But now, they had returned, and they had taken 12 children. A voice from the far corner of the hall broke the silence. It was low and cold. "You call for words, but this calls for action." The voice came from Gore, the warrior delegate of the Braddock. His kind did not believe in long debates. They believed in strength and clear rules. And the rule was simple: no one took children. Kalani raised a hand, calling for calm. "The humans have sent a ship," she said. "They go not with weapons, but with open hands. We must honor this path first." Another figure stepped forward. Her skin was dark silver, her eyes bright with starlight. She was Telra of the Nyari, a species known for wisdom. If the Varn refuse peace, then we must prepare for what follows. The vote was held. It passed without a single voice against. The council would wait for the humans' mission to reach the Varn. If the children were not returned, the council would stand. With Earth across the galaxy, this decision spread. People on other worlds stopped what they were doing. Screens lit up with the message: "The council stands with Earth. The Varn must return the young." It was the first time in 100 years that a single species had gained full support. Without asking for it, it was a moment written into history. Back on Earth, the mood changed. Fear began to turn into hope. On Luna Base, candles were replaced with white flags, symbols of peace and return. On Mars, children painted stars on walls. writing the names of the 12 who were missing. On board Silverlight, Captain Rin received the news. She read the council's message in silence. Then she looked at her crew. "We're not alone," she said. The Galaxy Watches, they were already halfway through their journey. The quiet band grew closer each day. Outside the windows, the stars grew thin. Space around them became darker, heavier. Lights on the ship were dimmed to save power and reduce their signal. Rin gathered her officers in the meeting room. She pointed at the map. "The Varn are deep in this region," she said. "We believe they're in hiding, but not completely. They sent the message for a reason." Her second in command, a calm man named Jonas, asked the question on everyone's mind. "Why tell us the children are alive if they don't plan to give them back?" Rin did not answer right away. She looked at the screen. It showed 12 bright dots, the names of the children, each one blinking slowly. "They want us to follow," she said at last. "Maybe they want to test us. Maybe they think we'll turn back. But they are wrong." Down in the ship's quietest room, a woman named Mara sat with her notes. She was a language expert, trained in alien signals and code. She stared at the original message again and again. The young ones live. It was strange. She thought, not a demand, not a threat, just a statement. But then she saw something new. A small mark, nearly invisible in the code. It was a symbol, old and rare. She ran it through the system and gasped. The mark belonged to a lost Varn research group known as the Watchers. Long ago, they had studied how young creatures grew in different environments. They believed childhood was the key to understanding any species. Mara sent her findings to the captain at once now. The mission had a new piece of the puzzle. The Varn had taken the children not to harm them, but to study them. They were being used in some kind of observation. That didn't make it right. That didn't make it forgivable. But it meant the children were likely safe, at least for now, Captain. Rin stood alone in her quarters, reading the report. Then she looked out the window. The stars were thin now. In the distance, space bent slightly. A place where the laws of nature shifted. She knew they were getting close. Behind her, a message blinked on the screen. It was from Earth. 12 families had sent short recordings. Each one had only one message. "We're waiting. Come back soon." Captain Rin closed her eyes for a moment. Then she stood tall, walked to the bridge, and gave the order, "Set course, no delays. We find the children, no matter what." And the ship moved forward, toward the dark, toward the Varn, toward the truth. The stars had faded behind them. Silverlight now moved through the quiet band, a place where space itself seemed older. Dust clouds drifted like silent ghosts, and time felt slower here. No trade ships passed this way. No signals bounced between stations. It was a forgotten place. Captain Rin stood on the bridge, watching the scanners. The ship's lights were kept low. Only the hum of the engines and quiet beeps from the control panels filled the air. Everyone on board knew they were close. Lieutenant Mara entered, holding a new report. "I decoded more of the symbol," she said. "It leads back to an old Varn project called Growth Lens." Captain Rin looked up. "What was it?" "A study," Mara said. "They believed young minds could be shaped by controlled environments. They once raised small creatures inside artificial worlds. They watched how emotions changed under stress, under joy, under fear. Were those creatures ever returned to their families?" Mara shook her head. "They were never taken from families in the first place. This is different. This time they crossed a line." Captain Rin's voice became firm. "Then they'll face what comes with that." An alert blinked on the screen. The pilot, a young man named Jules, tapped the controls. "We have something," he said. "It's not a station, but it's artificial. It's hiding inside a dead asteroid field." They moved in closer. The asteroid field was thick, but Silverlight's scanners picked out the structure. It was shaped like a ring, with long metal arms reaching out like fingers. Faint lights blinked deep inside. "It's not broadcasting any signal," Jules said, "but power is flowing inside. Something's alive in there." Ring gave the order, "Send a message. Human vessel approaching. We request return of our children." "No." Reply came. They waited 1 hour, Then another. Still nothing. Finally, a response appeared on the screen. It was not words. It was a picture. 12 children standing in a glass room. They looked unharmed. Though a little confused, some were holding hands, some were sitting. One was drawing on the floor with a small marker. There was no sound, only the image. Mara studied the picture. Then she pointed at the wall behind the children. That writing is Varn, she said. It says, Observation Cycle 3. Emotional Bonding Test. Captain Rin stepped forward. Her voice was calm but sharp. They're using the children like puzzles, watching their reactions, testing how they trust each other. Mara nodded. That's what the Varn do. They don't see this as wrong. To them, it's just study. They believe knowledge is worth any price. Rin turned to the rest of the crew. Then they're wrong. And they'll learn that now. They prepared a shuttle. A small team was chosen, 2 guards, 1 medic, and Mara for language support. Rin herself would lead. She wanted to see the Varn face to face. As the shuttle launched, the asteroid field loomed round them. The ring station grew larger, silent and still. No weapons were visible, but no one felt safe. The shuttle docked with the outer ring. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the halls were quiet and clean. Lights glowed along the floor, guiding them inward. They moved carefully. The air was breathable. Gravity worked. The Varn had prepared the space for guests. At last, they reached a large chamber. A clear wall separated them from another room, and behind that glass, the 12 children stood. They turned as the humans entered. Some gasped. One ran to the glass and pressed her hands to it. Is that my mom's ship? She asked. No, said Rin gently. But we're here to take you home. The children began to smile. One boy wiped his eyes. Another started jumping up and down. Before they could move further, a shape appeared from the shadows. It was tall and thin, with pale skin and wide, black eyes. Its arms were long, fingers moving like wind through water. This was a Varn. Rin stepped forward. I am Captain Rin of Earth. You have taken our children. This must end now. The Varn did not blink. Its voice came as a soft hum, translated through Mara's device. They are safe. Their minds are growing. They learn better here than on Earth. Rin's eyes narrowed. You had no right. The Varn tilted its head. Humans fear what they do not study. We do not harm. We observe. Observation without permission is harm, Rin said. You have stolen them from their families? Another Varn stepped beside the first. This one looked older, its skin marked with dark lines. It spoke slowly. You do not understand. The young ones adapt fast. Already they form bonds, solve problems. They are unique among species. We know, Rin said. That's why we protect them. The older Varn paused. Then it spoke again. War is not needed. Take them, if you must. But our work will be incomplete. Rin looked back at the children. They were now gathered near the glass, watching, waiting. You never asked for peace, she said. You took first. We answer now. She raised her hand. The guards opened the door. The children ran into the hallway, some crying, some laughing. Rin knelt down and hugged the nearest child. You're going home, she whispered. One boy looked up at her. Did my dad send you? Yes, she said. All the parents did. The team moved quickly. The Varn did not stop them. They simply watched in silence. As the shuttle pulled away, the ring station began to dim. Lights went out. One by one. Back on Silverlight, the children were checked by the medic. No injuries, no sickness, just confusion and quiet fear. But they were safe. Captain Rin sent a final message to the Varn. Earth will never forget what you did. The Council knows. This is not over. Then Silverlight turned, left the quiet band, and headed for home. The journey back from the quiet band was quiet in its own way. The children sat close together in a safe room aboard Silverlight. Some held hands. Others stared out small windows at the stars they had not seen for what felt like a long time. Captain Rin watched them with steady eyes. She could see the fear and confusion in their faces, but also the spark of hope returning. The ship's crew worked carefully. The medic, Nurse Leela, moved among the children, checking their health, offering water and soft words. Though the children were physically unharmed, their minds carried questions and memories too deep for their age. They had been taken from everything they knew. The world they had known had vanished for days. Captain Rin called a meeting with her officers in the command room. The screen showed the path back to human space. They were still hours away from the nearest colony. "We need to prepare," she said. "The galaxy knows what happened here. The Council has spoken. But some will still doubt. Some will ask if we should strike first." Lieutenant Jonas nodded. "We have the children. We are not at war yet, but we are ready if it comes." The captain's eyes were sharp. "We do not seek war, but we will defend what is ours. The children are our future." The crew understood. They had trained for danger, but none had imagined this mission: to bring home 12 young lives taken by an alien species that thought only of study and control. As the ship crossed the last border into human territory, messages flooded in from Earth, Mars, Titan, and the outer colonies. People sent words of thanks and hope. Leaders promised full support for Silverlight and its crew. Some worried about what would come next. Meanwhile, on the edge of the quiet band, something stirred. The Varn were not silent any longer. Their leaders gathered in a dim chamber. The older Varn, marked by years and shadows, spoke first. "We did not expect Earth to come so soon," he said. "They have strength. They have will." Another Varn, younger and quicker, answered. "We have knowledge. We can still finish what we started." The council was divided. Some wished to fight, others wished to flee. But all knew the truth. Humans were not a species to be underestimated. Back aboard Silverlight, the captain prepared for their arrival. They would enter a busy station near Mars. Here, diplomats would greet the children and help them reunite with families. But Rin knew that behind the smiles, tension waited. The galaxy had changed. The Varn's act was not just a crime, it was a challenge. The children had been tested. So had humanity. When Silverlight docked, the station was crowded. Families, reporters, officials, and curious onlookers waited. The moment the doors opened, the children ran forward, their small bodies overwhelmed by the flood of voices and hugs. Tears of joy and relief fell freely. Captain Rin stayed back, watching from a distance. She felt pride and pain. Pride for the bravery of her crew, pain for the innocents lost. Diplomats immediately began to send messages across the galaxy. The Varn had been called to answer for their actions. Some argued for exile, others for punishment. But all agreed on one thing: no species would touch human children again. In a private room, Captain Rin met with a council envoy from the Galactic Assembly. The envoy was a tall figure, covered in silver scales that shimmered under the lights. His voice was calm. "The council recognizes your strength," he said. "They know what this means." Rin nodded. This mission was not just about saving children, it was about sending a message. The envoy smiled faintly. "And the message is clear. Humanity will protect its own. Others must respect that." That night, Rin sat alone in her quarters. She looked at the small gifts the children had made for the crew: drawings, simple toys, and notes. Their bravery touched everyone on the ship. She knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had changed. Old rules no longer applied. Humanity had made a choice: to stand united, to stand strong, and to never let fear take their children again. The Silverlight was back in human space, carrying the rescued children home. But the story was far from over. The Varn had not accepted defeat. They were hiding, watching, planning. Captain Rin knew that the Varn might try to strike again. They might not want war, but if pushed, they would fight. A new order came from United Earth Command. They needed to find where the Varn had disappeared. After the rescue, the quiet band was vast and dark. But new sensor data had detected unusual activity deep inside a nearby star system. Long thought dead. Captain Rin prepared her ship for a chase. The crew was tense but ready. They knew this was more than a mission. It was a test of humanity's will. Jules, the young pilot, steered the ship carefully through fields of cold debris. The The stars outside the windows were few and dim. Shadows stretched across space like fingers. The silence was heavy. Lieutenant Mara worked with the sensors. Captain, I'm picking up something ahead. It's faint, but it's there. Ren looked at the screen. A small blip appeared, hidden behind a giant cloud of cosmic dust. Can we get a closer look? Mara nodded. Yes, but it will be dangerous. The dust is dense. It could hide anything. The ship moved slowly forward. The dust cloud swallowed them whole, blocking stars and sensors alike outside. Darkness pressed against the windows. Suddenly, the ship shook. A small explosion rocked the hull. Warning lights flashed. Impact on the starboard side. Jules reported. Someone is shooting at us. Captain Ren's voice was calm but firm. Shields up. Return fire only if necessary. We are not here to destroy, but to protect. From the cockpit, they saw shapes moving in the dark, small ships darting through the dust, firing silent energy pulses. The Varn were here. The chase began. The silver light was faster and better armed than the small Varn craft, but the dust gave the attackers an advantage. They struck quickly, then disappeared before the humans could respond. Inside the ship, tension grew. The children were safe in the rear compartments, but alarms and flashing lights made the ride rough. Captain Ren held her steady voice, reassuring the crew and passengers. We will not let fear control us, she said. We are together. We protect each other. Hours passed. The battle moved deeper into the star system. The dust began to thin. Then, on the edge of a cold, dead planet, the Varn secret base appeared. It was hidden inside a broken asteroid, surrounded by defense turrets and energy shields. The station was smaller than the ring they had found before, but more heavily fortified. Captain Ren looked at the map. We have to get inside. We need answers. A plan was made. A boarding team would go in, supported by the Silverlight's weapons systems. The goal was not destruction, but rescue and to stop the Varn's dangerous experiments for good. The shuttle launched. Captain Ren led the team. They moved fast, avoiding patrols and hidden traps. Inside the station, halls were cold and dark. The Varn had sealed many doors and used strange devices to block communication. At last, they reached a central lab. What they found was shocking. Several human children were there, younger than the ones they had rescued. Some were asleep in strange pods. Others were connected to machines that showed data on screens: heartbeat, brain activity, emotional states. Captain Ren felt a wave of anger and sadness. The Varn were still taking children, still experimenting. She raised her hand. We end this now. The team worked quickly to free the children. Nurse Lila checked their health. The children were weak but alive. Suddenly, alarms blared. The Varn had triggered a lockdown. The walls started to close in. Ren shouted, "Move, hurry." They raced through the halls as the station began to collapse. Energy pulses shook the building. The crew struggled to keep the children safe outside. The silver light fired at the defense turrets, keeping the attackers busy. The shuttle reached the airlock just as the walls were closing. The team rushed inside, locking the doors behind them. The station exploded in a burst of light. Back on the silver light, the children were safe. Captain Ren sent a message to Earth. We have the children. The station is destroyed. The Varn's experiments are over. Her voice was steady but tired. We have shown that humanity protects its own. We will not stop until all our children are safe. The message spread quickly. Across colonies and worlds, people cheered. The courage of the crew and the bravery of the children became a symbol. In the darkness of space, humanity's light burned bright. The silver light sailed homeward, its cargo of rescued children safe at last. But the journey was more than a return. It was a message sent across the stars. Humanity stood united, strong, and ready to protect its own. Captain Ren stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the glowing blue of Earth far away. The faces of the children she had helped save filled her mind. Their courage was quiet but fierce. Their innocence was precious. Back on Earth, news stations prepared for the arrival. People gathered in parks, plazas, and homes. Flags waved. Songs were sung. The Moon 12 were coming home. But beyond Earth, The galaxy was changing. The Galactic Council had met again. The Varn, stripped of their protection and trust, faced exile. Their experiments condemned. The Council declared a new Lono species could take a human without consequence. Ambassador Lawrence spoke for many when he said, "This is more than a law. It is a warning." Some species, old and wise, remembered humanity's fierce spirit. Others were still cautious, but none dared question the message. On board Silverlight, Captain Rin received a message from the Council. "Your people have shown the galaxy what it means to protect the young. You carry not only children, but the hope of many. We stand with you." Rin nodded to her crew. "We did this together. Humanity has grown, and we will never stop." The children were returned to their families in ceremonies filled with tears and smiles. The memory of fear was replaced with joy. The children, though changed by their experience, found comfort in love. One young girl, Mia, spoke softly to Nurse. "Leela, I was scared," she said, "but I knew you would come." Leela smiled. "We will always come for you, no matter what." As the celebrations continued, Captain Rin prepared for her next mission. The galaxy was vast and full of unknowns. But one thing was clear: humanity had made its place. It was a place where no one would take their children without challenge. A place where hope and courage lit the darkest space. And a place where humans, united and strong, would always protect their own. The stars outside Silverlight shone brighter now. The future was wide open, and humanity was ready.